Was it worth it?
I don't want to die.
Many of Bali's most breathtaking sights are actually not on Bali at all. Good morning and welcome to Nusa Penida. This is probably the place that I was most excited about getting to in the whole of Indonesia. I first started seeing it on YouTube about 3 years ago, and that was around the time that Emma and I were starting to put together some ideas for a longer trip, and now we're almost a year into that trip, right towards the end, and we finally made it. When I first started to hear about this place, it was being sold as a sort of hidden gem, you know, this secret place off the coast of Bali where barely any tourists have come. And 3 years later, I'm interested to see how much of that is still true, because a lot can change in 3 years in this part of the world. Nusa Penida is less than 20 kilometres from Bali's Sanur beach, and there are speedboats leaving from the seafront at various times throughout the day, making it increasingly popular for organised day trips. We boarded our boat in the late afternoon and ended up having the whole thing to ourselves. And in about 45 minutes, we got our first views of this beautiful island. We took a taxi around to our hotel, which was only a few metres walk from Prapat Beach. We arrived in the evening when most of the day trippers had already left, so the island was really nice and peaceful. We stayed at the Ring Samutan Resort, which had great deals on large family villas, which I had to share with these two weirdos. That's Emma and Tony, by the way. I don't know you. And the next day, we hired a driver to take us around some of the best sights of the island. Tours on Nusa Penida are split into two main options. There's the main sites of the south coast, which make up the most popular route for day trips, and then you have the east side of the island, which is slightly less visited. So for our first day, we headed towards the popular south coast sites. The roads here are insane. Very winding, very bumpy. I'm just glad we don't have a scooter. We've got 4 stops today on our tour. First of all is Broken Beach and Angel's Billabong, which are right next to each other. And here we are. Angel's Billabong is a natural infinity pool with a view looking straight out onto the ocean. Local legend says that it got its name from angels that literally bathed here many years ago. And now instead of angels, you have tourists doing it instead. A very short way down the coast from Angel's Billabong is Broken Beach, which is our second stop. This is really cool. You can walk around the whole thing in complete circle. You can't come here without doing a classic Instagram shot. Feet in front of you. It was around this time that we started to get some company. I think this might be a bit of foreshadowing of what this whole day is going to be like. Lots and lots of people crowding around, queuing up to get their photo. As expected, really.
From about 10 a.m, the small, narrow roads definitely got more crowded, but we were still very excited to get to our next spot.
Our next stop is definitely the most popular place on Nusa Penida. You've probably seen it on Instagram. This is the Eiffel Tower, the Statue of Liberty of the island.
Kalenking Beach literally sent Nusa Penida viral, credited with bringing vast numbers of people here during the last few years. Just a couple of years ago, this entrance area was just a dusty cliff top, but now you have a miniature tourist village with lots of little cafes and shops, all leading up to one amazing viewpoint. We had to fight our way through the crowds to find a good spot, but when you finally get a glimpse at the coastline, you realise that it was all worthwhile. At the base of the cliffs is a stunning secluded beach, which you can climb down to from the cliff top. But this route should not be taken lightly. In fact, it's actually very steep and pretty dangerous, with several big accidents happening here in recent years. Stupidly, we didn't do much research before we arrived, so we were completely unprepared for how difficult it would be. The views are amazing, but you can't really enjoy them too much when you're hanging on for dear life.
This is mental. That was the craziest thing we've ever done. Probably not in a good way. The steps going down, well, I say steps. It's more just like steep, smoothed out rock, really slippery. There's tons of people going down, tons of people coming up. There's not enough room for everybody moving past each other. Absolutely mental.
I regret everything.
Tony, was it worth it?
I don't want to die.
So, was it worth it? Well, the beach itself is really nice and the water is a beautiful colour of blue, but because of the huge waves and the shallow corals, it's not recommended that you swim here. So we didn't make it past the paddle before we had to climb back up the cliff.
Oh, my shoes!
And honestly, the return climb was even worse than the way down.
Just don't do it. Don't go down there. There's better beaches that are easier to get to. I'm happier to be back at the top than I was to get down on the beach. Mental.
And I've never been more relieved to find some aircon in my whole life. We ended our first day at Crystal Cove, which was just a busy beach. But to be honest, a bit of relaxing on the seafront was just what we needed after that climb. An hour or so later, we headed back to the hotel to reflect on our first day.
I've learned two things today after our first day on the island. First of all, Nusa Penida is extremely beautiful. But secondly, it's definitely not a hidden gem, at least not anymore. It's basically become an extension of Bali now. It's so close as well, only a 45-minute boat ride, that I think a lot of people come here on day trips and just head to the same spots as we were going to, so yeah, it's a shame. I feel like I've missed out. I feel like I should have come here sooner. But that's what they say, isn't it? Once you've heard about it, you're too late.
But we still had a whole other coast to explore. The next morning, we headed back into a car to explore that lesser visited east coast. It's a bit windy. Day 2 is all about the east coast of the island, and we're starting at a very famous treehouse with amazing views over the cliffs and these islands. You can actually stay here for the night, but it does book up quite a few months in advance, and with views like that, I'm not surprised. Further along the coast was another of the island's most stunning views. And luckily, the climb down to this beach was much less demanding than the previous day. Welcome to Diamond Beach. Look how incredible this place is. Just on the other side of the cliffs is Atuh Beach. So we're heading down there now. It's a lot of sunbeds, but barely any people. I don't know whether it's the time in the day that we've come or whether this side of the island is just less busy, but we've definitely encountered less crowds today. Nusa Penida is without a doubt one of the most beautiful places we saw around Bali. And now in these post-pandemic times, I doubt that crowds will be a problem anytime soon. But still, rather than cramming everything into one day trip, I really think it's worth spending a couple of days on this island to enjoy both sides of it, because there's really so much that's worth seeing. And that was the end of our time in Indonesia. From Bali, Tony headed back to the UK, and we headed back to a country that has been a real home from home for us in Southeast Asia. We headed back to Thailand for a couple more weeks, where we made a very big decision to end our year of travelling. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, make sure you leave it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time for one more adventure.